Hi, this is Stevie Denny. I'm a watercolor artist and I want to share a tip with you today that I just learned about and I find it really helpful. There is a pen that's made by the Pilot Company, the Pilot Pen Company, called Frixion, Frixion, and the one that I have has black ink. But this pen is advertised as being erasable. But what I learned is that when you draw with the pen and then apply heat to it, the ink disappears. So for watercolor painting, this is a great tool. I like it better than using pencil because it all disappears when you apply heat, and it's much easier to see than the pencil. So it wouldn't really work if you do tracing, but if you do drawing directly on the paper, it's really great. This is what the pen looks like. I got mine at Walmart. I'm sure Staples and Target sell them. They're usually sold in the office supply section of a store, not in the art section. And they're reasonably priced. So here I had an old sketch that I wanted to fix up a little bit and finish. So I'm marking some things that I need to work on. Here I have some flowers in the background where I want to make shapes that look sort of like a daisy, that kind of a flower. So I'm just making some marks. I want to get the right shape of the flower to show which direction the flower is pointing in the painting. And then I'll make some little marks to show where the petals will go, because I'm going to do a little bit of negative painting around those shapes, so it helps me to see where I'm going. So there I'm just indicating some little flower shapes. And there will be some other areas. One of the problems with this sketch was that I started it out making it look like there was a vase, and I really didn't like that. So I want to get rid of the vase underneath that daisy and do something else with that area. So I have a little bit of work to do there, so I'm marking out where I can indicate some stems of the daisies, and then I can do some negative painting around them that will give it a stem and also get rid of, it'll add some dark color to it to get rid of that vase. It looks like the rim of the vase in the back, behind, underneath the daisy. So I've got that marked, and now I'm going back in to do a little more work on those background flowers, the yellow flowers, just to define them a little bit more. I think I did this over 2 years ago, so I don't really remember that much about it. But just kind of giving it a little shape. Again, these are in the background, they're close to the edge of the painting, so I don't want them to stand out too much. Here I'm picking up some color. Sorry you can't see it, but I picked up some cobalt blue and permanent rose to make a purplish color for those other background flowers that you see. Something that resembles hydrangeas, but they're really not well defined. Just something that is a darker color that I can negative paint around those daisies that I drew to define the shape of them. So there I'm kind of defining 3 shapes at once just by adding that color in between them. And I like to use negative painting. I think it adds a lot to a painting, but being able to use this black pen to lay out the shapes is really, really helpful. If any of you have ever done negative painting without any kind of drawing, it can be done, and I've done it, but it's really difficult. Here I picked up a little bit of Antwerp blue, which is a Winsor Newton color, because I know I'm going to want to add a leaf in there. So I've got some yellowish color already in there, but I needed some darker color as well. And again, I need some dark color around that daisy shape, so I'm going around there with some of my Antwerp blue, and I'll probably add some kind of a yellow color or something next to it. There's more of the purple color. And I just kind of go around those shapes. And I had drawn them with pencil a long time ago, so that helps me to know where I'm going. Now I would be drawing them with the Frixion ink. But in any event, it's a good way to know where you're going when you're painting. And I make sure with my brush I pick up enough water to make sure that when I finish a shape, I pull it out with water at the bottom so I don't end up with any hard edges. Here I'm going around that stem shape that I made, negative painting it, and you can see how I can get the dark color in there to cover up that rim of the vase that I had marked in. And at the same, also what that does is it further defines the daisy, and it makes the daisy petals pop out. So kind of does a few things all at one time. There again, I'm marking another stem, and what I'm painting is the area in between those stems. And I have to work fast because those would be really hard edges if I don't keep them wet. And the brush I'm using is a Princeton Neptune brush. And I like the Neptune brushes because they hold more water than some of the other Princeton brushes. So, for example, here where I'm using a rather small brush, it gives me more time before the paint dries when the brush has a lot of water on it. So those are quite useful. They don't hold as much water as a sable brush, but they're quite manageable. Now I've gotten rid of most of that vase shape, which I'm happy about. And I know somewhere along the line I'm going to add a leaf in where you see some of that yellow color on the right underneath the purple, but I'll do that later, and I'll mark that out with my Frixion pen. Now I'm up at the top of the painting, defining those flower shapes a little bit with some of the purple background color, just going around. Again, these are kind of crazy shapes, but they're just background flowers, and it was just a sketch. But I'm just adding some color there to define those shapes, and then blending the color out with some water toward the edges so that nothing is too well defined. Don't want any hard edges around on the sides of the painting, but it's too distracting to the eye. So I'm getting those shapes in. That Frixion pen is helping me to see which directions the flowers face. When I do that without drawing it, sometimes the flowers end up going in the wrong direction. Now I'm adding a little bit of a medium yellow color. I had made those flowers with a Hansa Yellow Light, and now I'm adding some Hansa Yellow Medium just to show that there are two sides to that flower without having to put in a center of the flower. I don't want to add centers to those yellow flowers because I think it would be too distracting since they're in the background. But I do want to add something at the bottom, so I'm adding some little leaves coming off the stem. It helps them to sit down a little bit in the stem. And I'm also using that color to darken up the area around the daisy. Back to the heat gun, and that's a great tool. That's made by Ranger, and I will tell you it's very hot. It's different from a blow dryer, much hotter, but it's a lot quieter than a blow dryer, so that part is really nice. So here I want to add a leaf shape. So I'm using my Frixion pen. Keep in mind, I've already painted there, but I can go right over it with the Frixion pen. And what I'll do is paint a negative shape around that leaf. And that color, or the ink color, will come right off once I apply heat to it. And I don't have time in this video to do that, but I think I'll do another short video to show you how my whole project came out. But I appreciate your time, and thanks for watching.